everyone. This is Ariana Rashke. I am the Program Director for the Central Arizona Conservation Alliance, and this is our webinar for the Greenprint tool. So just really quick, in terms of an agenda for today, I'm going to briefly go through the development and background of this application, and then we're going to go through a little demo that shows you how to access the tool, how to explore it, and use all of its different elements. So our motivation for creating the Greenprint stems back to this really rapid population growth that we see in the Phoenix metropolitan area. So you can see here that in 2015, we had a population of about 4.5 million. So if we project forward to 2040, we're looking at a projected population of almost 7 million people. And you can see by looking at this map that the city has also spatially grown to a fairly large extent. And this will have a huge impact not only on our environmental areas and our habitats, our biodiversity, but also on our communities and our quality of life as well. So the Central Arizona Conservation Alliance, which I'm going to call CASCA from here on out, functions under a regional open space strategy for Maricopa County. This was produced via almost a year and a half of discussions with a variety of stakeholders across Maricopa County. And there are 4 primary goals to this strategy. And essentially, it's meant to address this population growth in a sense, and to think about how can we together as a network, as an alliance, as a collaborative region, how can we create a thriving network of regional open space along with this population growth? So there are 4 primary goals that stem from that, and you can read those here, but the Greenprint in particular, this tool that we're talking about today, really answers a part of this goal 1, protect and connect. By providing a tool for planning around natural resources and connecting those resources to human well-being and experience in the city. So some of the things that we specifically look at really closely within this tool are things like ensuring habitat integrity, protecting our water resources, and we do this by looking for the best available data. And I'm going to talk about sort of how we produce some of our layers that you'll see in this tool, although many of them are also context layers. And again, we'll explore that more in the demo portion of this presentation. So along with maintaining habitat integrity and protecting water resources, we also look very closely at mitigating heat risk through nature-based solutions. For our communities here in Phoenix, Arizona, heat is a reality of life, but it's also a major challenge that we face, and something that's impacted by urban development and also by things like climate change. So these are 3 important elements of the tool that we really did an analysis around and we focus on. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how this decision support tool, the Greenprint, was created, specifically looking at some analysis layers that we have, which really focus on those 3 themes that I just talked a little bit about, and then to look at context layers. And you'll see in the demo that a lot of this data is tagged to the parcel level for urban planning and things like that. And you can see that here. Again, this will be explored further in the demo so you can see how to access this and explore. So in regards to those 3 analysis layers, ensuring habitat integrity, protecting water resources, and heat mitigation, we went through this process that we show here with a technical advisory team. And this was led by the Trust for Public Land. But there were a variety of different partners that were involved and different experts that made up this advisory team. And so you can see here that it was very much an iterative process whereby the advisory team helped identify data, but also to like weigh the criteria, as I'll show you in a little bit. Essentially, these analysis layers were created by weighting the data and sort of bringing together a variety of different information sources. So they also helped verify methodology and sort of ground truth the GIS modeling. So in a sense, you know, when they saw how things looked on the map, does it make sense based on their expert opinion and their experience on the ground? So again, a very iterative process by which these analysis layers were produced, and very collaborative as well. So you can see here for our 3 analysis layers, the different data that was considered for each one. And then we're going to show you here how the technical advisory team weighed each source of data to produce the layers that you'll be able to explore in the Greenprint. And so I'm not going to go into depth on this, but just to kind of give you guys a sense for what was done, this is what that looked like. All right, and so this is, again, the resulting layer that you can explore in a lot more detail when you get into the tool, but this is what that ensuring and habitat integrity layer looks like. Here's our protect water resources layer and an example of a mitigating heat risk. Obviously, this one is zoomed in. The other 2 we're looking at our full study area, which includes Maricopa County and associated Huck 10 watersheds. This is zoomed in to show the city and also some parcel level, neighborhood level differentiation among different block groups, as you can see here. So recently in 2020, we also added some other analysis layers. We call them conservation layers to differentiate from the 3 I just discussed, because the methodology around these is a little bit different. So I do want to take a few minutes to explore these with you guys. That way, when you see them, you know what you're looking at and you know the process by which these layers were created. All right, so the first one of these layers I'm going to talk about is this one. It's the conservation opportunity areas, as we call it. This was produced, these little bubbles or little circles that you can see here, they're produced from a stakeholder process where people looked at some of the data actually that we talked about previously and then said, you know, if we as a group were going to prioritize or really look for the high value areas in Maricopa County, what would those be? And then they actually talk about why each of these bubbles is important. And those descriptions are available in the Greenprint tool. But this, again, comes from a stakeholder process and involved experts from not only our Parks and Rec, natural resources, conservation, but development as well. So we see this as a really great sort of look into what those opportunities might be and where we could look together as a collaborative network at, you know, potentially protecting land in the future as the city grows and as our population grows. The second one that I want to talk about are these feasibility corridors. This comes from Caleb Carpenter's master thesis in 2019, and it focuses inward on the urban matrix of the Phoenix metro area and identifies corridors that would be feasible to create throughout the city based on some different criteria and connecting the larger open spaces that we already have here in the city. So the Greenprint will actually link to his full thesis, and if you're interested in these layers, you can really explore the process by which he produced them. But in terms of sort of an urban vision and maintaining the land that we already have protected as parks and that people are already recreating in, this sort of represents an urban vision. And we also have Maricopa Association of Government, or MAG's, desert spaces data. This stems from their sort of open space strategy from, I believe, the late 80s, early 90s. but this gives you a sense for what MAG is using on the back end to think about, conceptualize as areas of importance for conservation, for that habitat connectivity, and also, you know, when we're thinking about recreation, because that is so important to our communities. And then this here, I'm actually not going to talk about how this was created, but this is one of our major tools within the Greenprint that we like to highlight before you dive into the demo and really explore this. But it's essentially looking at park access, what areas of the neighborhood have access to parks within a 10-minute walk. And so besides the spatial data that you can sort of see here as an example, there's also ways to produce reports about this. So if you were to create a park, or if you were looking at a specific park, you can find out the demographics of the area that's served by that park. So again, this will be in the demo and you can explore it further on your own as well. But this is an element of the Greenprint that we think has a lot of impact. In terms of thinking about what the Greenprint could be used for, I think it could be used for a lot of different things, but we conceptualize the tool as being used for planning, to help us prioritize lands that, you know, maybe we form agreements around, or we look at multi-use or potentially acquire. You know, where are those? How do we serve the most people? Where is it feasible to look at, you know, making, for instance, habitat corridors or a park? Spatial data is also really great for helping us get funding. And by us, I don't mean CASCA necessarily, but anyone using the tool. Obviously, when you can visualize your story and visualize the future that you're looking towards, that really gets people at the table with you. So we think this offers a great opportunity for people to tell their story, whether it's about open space or heat mitigation or water, to just see what the data looks like on the ground and to be able to communicate that with others. And again, to get that funding support for whatever your vision might be. And then, you know, of course, sharing this data, making it available. The Greenprint's a free tool. We want people to use it for their planning, whether that's at a neighborhood scale or a city scale, or maybe, you know, you're focused on parks, whatever that is. We want this data to be something that anyone can explore and know what's going on in their area and their home. And just to be able to see that in an accessible way. So we see that as another big impact of the Greenprint. All right, so that sums up the background on the tool. The next section of this webinar is going to be our demo. It's going to walk you through the tool, and you can either watch it and take notes, or you can have the video playing and go through on your own, whatever you need to do. If you do have questions, you can definitely email myself or Anya through the CASCA email. We're certainly available to discuss further and help you guys use this tool as much as you can. All right, so we're going to dive into the demo.
As you guys could see, if you type CASCA Greenprint into your Google search bar, pretty much the second result that you will get is the Greenprint. So you can go ahead and click on that. You'll be taken to the main page for the Trust for Public Land, which was one of our main partners who we worked with to create this. You open up the mapping portal, and you here have the option to create a new account. It is free. It's just going to ask you for some very basic details, username, password, and then it will ask you to verify your email. So it's just a matter of looking through your emails to make sure you can verify it. But that's all you need to do. Once you have done that process, you are, obviously you're going to enter the Greenprint. And the first thing you're going to notice is you're going to get a little disclaimer, which, just basically shares some context and information. You agree to this, and then you're into the tool and we can start exploring. So just a basic layout. I mean, I'm sure some folks in here are familiar with kind of what this means, but as you can see, this is sort of the viewer area where you have the actual map. To the left-hand side, you have all the different, I guess, features that you can use with this GIS map. You have a whole bunch of different options that we can actually navigate through. You have a search bar where you can actually search an address or place. Here's your basic information on here. We have different views of the maps over here, and we have two different home buttons. One zooms out to the Phoenix area, and this one zooms out to the study area as a whole, which is what we're seeing now. So if you were to click on this, it would zoom into the kind of the Phoenix metropolitan area. And these, so just really quick kind of guides. And of course, I'm sure we're all familiar with the zooming in and zooming out. So I'm going to go ahead and start a little bit with the layers, and then we'll jump into some of these other different tools that we have available to us. So the layers bar here, we have the analysis results, which is the main result, the main analyses that Ariana was talking about that we did with the help of different partners, and this process that we underwent with all the different stakeholders and partners that we worked with. And then there's the context layers. So all those different layers, that open data, all that information and data that was shared with us, or that is open to the public, open data that is available, that really came together to give us the information that was needed to make these analysis results. So you have access to both of these different context or layers. The newest layers that Ariana mentioned, which was the conservation opportunities, the bubbles, the desert spaces, and the urban vision, are couched under the conservation folder here. So we will definitely explore those in a second. So as you guys are exploring the tool, you guys can have a range of options as to what you want to explore, what you want to view. We definitely encourage you all to explore the analyses. There is the overall result, which, and if you kind of hover all of you over these different titles, it does give you a little bit of a description. The little hamburger button here allows you to have more control over what you want to see. And very importantly, it also gives you the ability to access the metadata. Again, this is something, if you guys are interested, it is a Google spreadsheet that gives you access to all the different information that we used and where it came from, if you're interested in that as well. So lots of different options here to explore. You can turn all the sublayers on, off very easily this way. And again, just different controls. There's also layer swipe. So if you actually want to provide, create a little kind of more interactive display, all different kinds of options here as well. So, and Ari, please, if you think I'm missing something, or if you want to view something specifically, just let me know. But I'll go ahead and start with, let me take off the weighted result off. And I'll go ahead and just quickly go over those analyses layers that we talked about. So starting with the mitigating heat risks, as you can see, here's that legend that we briefly showed you all in the presentation. So if you can go ahead and click on those, I'm going to use this zoom function for the Phoenix area, because that's where this information and data is mostly couched in. But as you can see, we can see the different heat islands that exist. And we also can see the heat vulnerability data that was provided as well through this, this study that was done. So really cool information. Of course, you can zoom in to a much finer degree and really take a look at where these heat, what are areas that are more heat vulnerable. And then again, you can also see the different heat islands and some really good information that is, I think, very useful as we start thinking about planning for our city, and just also helping other areas of our metropolitan area deal with what is going to be very much a challenge as we move forward due to climate change and all these other things. When it comes to our cities, right? And we can tell that there's a concentration of, there's a concentration of heat islands in certain areas versus others. And, you can kind of go into all of this, but there's some really good information here, all accessible through this folder, which has the mitigating heat risk through nature-based solutions. Similarly, we have the protect water resources and ensuring habitat integrity analyses layers. You can select each individual one, or you can go to the bottom, which is the overall analysis for this particular layer. So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit more so you can see that it covers the entire study area of Casca. And you can also do it for the habitat integrity. You have each individual, and remember we saw the different weighted averages that was given by the advisory council, or you can go ahead and click the overall valley integrity. And it really does display that breadth, right, of the legend, what's more higher value, higher priority versus the other, but really neat tools to explore. You can, again, go each one if you are interested in riparian areas only, or maybe probably those corridors or linkages, so there's a lot of really cool information to explore that's provided in these analyses layers. Meanwhile, we also have, like I said, the context layers. So in here, we can also take a look at the conservation opportunities, which was those new layers that we added into the tool, like the conservation opportunity areas, the desert spaces plan that only was in Maricopa County, and then also our urban vision, which are split into two, the feasibility corridors and the multifunctional corridors. Which was the work that Caleb did for his master's thesis. And obviously zooming into the Phoenix, so you can see these are kind of little handy tools to have, the Phoenix area and the study areas. You can zoom in and out if you want to see some of these different functions. But okay, so this is kind of just a quick situation, getting us situated into the map. We have all sorts of different context layers. I'm going to turn these off really quickly, but we have, as you can see, all sorts of information available. We have more heat vulnerability information and data. We have recreation opportunity data here, schools, important bird areas. Here's what we're going to explore this a little bit further, the park need analysis that Oriana mentioned about creating a park and just that 10-minute walk to a park, really helping us figure out where is natural spaces needed, where can we do better in terms of perhaps providing these recreational areas within the urban context, of course. And of course, we have other kinds of natural resource data like hydrography, land use and cover, and just more administrative boundaries. So all this is really cool and important data that, again, went into building our analyses layers through that iterative process that was mentioned. So I think I kind of covered the basics of the layers, the analysis results, and from here I'm going to move into two different things, a scenario tool, which we're going to look at, and then also the park need analysis. One more thing I want to mention from these context layers are the parcels. There, and you can see that it's loading right now. We have a lot of parcels. I think it's over like 2 million parcels, but it's really, really good information. And maybe I'll just go ahead and jump in here real quick. I know that the chat, people are chatting. If there's any questions, I can't actually see the chat.
I'll keep an eye on the chat for you.
Perfect.
Don't worry about it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. So as you can see, it's thinking. So we have a lot of parcel data, but I think this is really important just to mention because, when we're talking about planning, of course, and when we're talking about, what are our cities going to look like, the parcel information is really important, and knowing where, oh, there we go. Okay. So lots of parcels out here. And what's really neat about this tool is that it really does give you information about each one of these. So, I mean, obviously it's taking just a little bit, my internet, it's just taking a little bit for us to actually get that fine detailed view. But as soon as that works, you're going to see, here we go. There's many, many parcels that just our cities are divided up in general. But if you click on any of these, you can see that you actually get a lot of information about this particular parcel. Is it private? Is it not? Is it protected? Is it vacant? And then this is just sort of general information, right? The address, all these things. But then we jump into our analyses, the ensuring habitat integrity, the heat risk, and the water resources. And what this tool does, it actually signals for us, is this important within these priorities that were established? So we can get a lot of information. So again, if there is a vacant lot, how does it, how does it fall within these different priorities that we have? So there's some very valuable information that we can get simply by clicking a parcel. And of course, if I were to click on this parcel, it is protected, it is a park, and it does fit within all of these priorities that we have. So there's some really cool information. And what I'm going to show you real quick is also once you actually start clicking on different things, so for example, the parcel, you see here that it says 1 of 34. This is also just showing you that you can use this little arrow to actually move through all the different parcels that are in that area or in that vicinity. You can actually kind of slide through these and see all the different information for each individual one. You can do this not only in the parcels, but you can do this for basically any option here on the map. So if I were to select the overall habitat integrity layer, and I were to select something on this, it also shows a little bit of a description. And if it does overlap with anything, it does show me, again, that little arrow so I can scroll through that. I'm trying to see if there's something else that has a double, another sort of a different, let me see here, protect water resources. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure I saw that little arrow pop up, and I wanted to make sure y'all know that that's what that means. So 1 of 3. So again, you can select if there's a parcel there that I selected as well. So it's showing me that information, and it's showing me another parcel that's close by right there too. So just wanted just all the different controls. It's a very in-depth tool. And so one thing I wanted to show y'all is if you click on a parcel, like, you know, let's say that this parcel right in here is a vacant lot, and you do think that it falls within the parameters that we have, basically what you would want to do is create a parcel report. So here's the parcel. Let's say it does fall within the different analyses and different priorities that we have, and we know it's vacant. We can actually create a profile report. So I'm just going to click on this button. The tool is going to create a PDF report for you. It's going to give you the option to download the file as soon as it's done. And this is going to be a really robust report on this parcel. So let me go ahead and, there we go. So as you can see here, it gives you the parcel ID, where it is, the acres that this parcel is, and it starts giving you a lot more information. Is it private? Is it vacant? What's, you know, all of these different important information that, you know, we would want to have. And so if, again, going to the second page, here we can actually look at the different information that we were talking about when it comes to the analyses. It actually breaks it down by percentage. And, you know, there's some that are really highly important when it comes to ensuring habitat integrity or water resources. So again, it's really great to have these different reports, because again, you could maybe attach this to a grant if you wanted to provide, you know, more data as to why you think this is important, or, you know, whatever project you have going on. So it's really cool that the tool creates these for us. So I just wanted to, and you can just exit out of that. You can do this pretty much with any parcel. So again, really neat tool and thing that we can do here with the GIS app here. 1 second, so I'm gonna zoom out of here. And this might get a little bit complicated, I guess, or just a little bit overload of information. Hopefully it's not, but we do have a query parcel, so you can actually find a parcel that suits you to your needs. So there's different valuations that you can give it here, but for example, as you can see, there's a whole host of options that we can actually choose from. So if you want the lot to be vacant, we know, so it is going to be equal to yes. So we're going to add this condition. So you go through and add different conditions that you want that parcel to have, and you tell this sort of search function what you want that parcel to have. So you're going to do that by adding conditions. I want it to be vacant, and again, you have a whole host of options. You know, I want it to be vacant. I want it to be, let's see, I wanted to have a percent of parcel width. Yep, I wanted to have a perennial stream. Condition equals to yes. There's a whole bunch of things that you can add. So I wanted to have that. I wanted to have some part of habitat connectivity, and hopefully it actually finds something. But basically, we can go through here and add these different conditions and make it as robust as we need to, or, you know, as simple as we need to. If we keep it really simple, we might find a lot of different ones, but then we're going to run this query, and it's going to search, and it's basically going to give us a result of what parcels are vacant, what parcels have a percentage with perennial rivers and streams, and a percentage of that parcel with rural and urban habitat blocks. And we've graded these with the different values from, 1 being the highest to 0 being the lowest. It didn't find anything. So unfortunately, that's not going to work. But there's a lot of different options that you could see here that you can use. It's a really great tool. Again, especially if you have a very specific need or a project in mind where you do need land to be available for that. So really great tool in that sense. And again, you have a whole host of options depending on really what you're looking for. We also have demographic data if that's, for example, talking about heat vulnerability. Those are important too. So it's a really great function and you can get really in-depth information. So usually you would have just a breakdown of all the parcels down here and you could basically go through each one and see if that fits your needs. You can also export the information once you have it. I think I have in the PowerPoint an actual example that gives us results that we can look at. But now that we were talking about parcel data, I didn't want to forget that the query is also a really highly valuable function that we have here available to us. So now that I've gone over all of that, and that's a lot of information, lots of parcels, I'm going to zoom back out and head on over to this side of the screen over here. So as you guys can see, there's a whole bunch of different functions that we have. Another one that we want people to know about is our scenario tool. So this, very much like what the tool is, the function is called, you can actually create layers based on a scenario that you might have or a priority that you might have. So I'm going to zoom just a little bit. And one very important thing, because sometimes I even forget, is to make the scenario layer visible. So once we have that, basically, as you can see here, using the different analyses, priorities that we've set or layers that we've set, we can actually choose what number, what grade we actually give it. So, and it's based on importance, right? 10 being the most important, 0 being not important. And the opacity of the layer is 80%. So you will start seeing a layer pop up as soon as I start moving these different sliding bars over. So let's, think of a scenario in which I want to find out, what areas within the study area have these different kind of features or elements. So for me, habitat integrity is extremely important. So I'm going to grade it as an 8. Mitigating heat risk is also very important. Let's see, I'm going to grade it a 6. Protecting water resources, maybe not so much. So I'm going to do it a 4 or 5. So based on that scenario that I'm giving this particular, example, we can see here what the tool kind of gave us. Red being the most fitting for what I selected, and obviously the lighter colors being less so. So based on my my scenario that I gave it with mitigating heat risk, ensuring habitat integrity, and a little bit of protecting water resources, clearly what we're seeing is the HeLa here being extremely important, something that I should really look at based on what I told the scenario tool to look for. Of course, these can change a lot. So again, if water is very important, we're going to go ahead and make that a 9, but habitat integrity, maybe not so much. And we'll go to a 4, but then mitigating heat risk is also very important to me. So you can see the scenario tool shift and change and ebb and flow depending on what you select here. And again, this also is something that you can save, and you can just have different scenarios, different opacities of the map, so you can maybe compare and contrast. To do that, we just go ahead and go over to the Save tab, and we can save the current scenario. And as you can see, I already have another one saved here, but we can just, this is project 1A, for example, and you can have different ones here, again, to compare and contrast based on what is important to y'all for whatever project you might be doing or whatever decisions you may be making in terms of future planning, for example. All right, so let me zoom out here. So the scenario tool, great tool. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out. The next thing we wanted to talk about, and I want to ensure I have enough time for questions too. We're going to take a look at the park need analysis, which is a really, really cool tool. So we're going to go to recreation opportunities, and here's the park need analysis. It's already open. Actually, this is not where I need to go. It's going to go in, is it, oh, I forgot, is it project? Yeah, project impact. Okay, so I'm going to zoom into the Metro Phoenix area, and I believe I actually have an address that I can look for. Let me see here. I don't know how to exit out of this view, so I'm gonna have to look through all of that. Okay, I have an address that I could look for, but I forgot what the address is. But what I'm gonna do is basically, if there's an area that we know a park is needed, and a good way to find that out is by going to the park need analysis and going to the park need. So here's the park need layer. Obviously, the red zones mean that there is a shortage of natural areas within 10 minutes, and there is a high need for a natural area for a park. So we're going to go ahead and zoom into one of these areas and basically design a park. Obviously, you would take into consideration the parcels and whether it's vacant or not, and so on and so forth. But just for the sake of this example, we know here is a red area. We know a park would be very beneficial to the community right around this zone. So I'm going to take this away so that it doesn't bother us too much. But I'm going to just go ahead and focus right around here in the center, and pretending that this is a vacant lot and I can use it. But what we're going to do is, using the project impact tool, we're actually going to see what kind of impact it would have to this community, to this area, to actually add in a natural area. So it kind of gives you a little bit of instructions on this side, but we're going to select this little polygon, and it's going to allow us to just draw on this map. And so I'm going to build a park right here, and I'm going to close it off, double click to complete. Park. Okay. All right. And so the second thing you need to do is access points. So we need at least one access point for these spaces. Obviously, you can have more. And so since this street is kind of ending right there, I'm going to go ahead and make that an access point. And I'll make this corner an access point. Okay, so that's really basically it. And then we're going to go ahead and tap to run this analysis. So this is letting you know that this is based on some of this information that was created, gathered by Trust for Public Land. We're going to click OK. And then we're going to go ahead and let the tool run this analysis, and it gives us some really good information as to what impact, again, this is the project impact tool, what impact this type of open space would have. And this is all information that you can actually export, and again, attach to a report, attached to a grant, all kinds of different uses that it could have. But the summary that we're going to get is, how many projects, the acres, and the service area. So what this little red bubble that we see here, this polygon, that's a total of 293 acres approximately. Population, as you can see, just some basic population information, household. We have some age breakdown as to for the service area. What is the breakdown of this demographic information on the service area that this park would have? Income and race. So again, I think this is good information to have. It's a really neat tool that really allows you to see what kind of impact an open space, a natural area would have. Obviously, anywhere that you decide to create one. So I invite you all, as like Ari mentioned, we're going to send a PDF of the presentation to all the attendees or all the people that registered, so they can go ahead and have instructions on how to do this by themselves. But this is a great way. I think it's just, honestly, sometimes it's just fun to see what it would do, and just realize how much impact some of these natural areas, even if they're small, can have on a community. So we can go ahead we can, project impact tool, we can go ahead and clear the project, and you can kind of just reset once, if it's not exactly what you want, or find a different area, just an easy way to clear that up. And let's see, so the project impact tool, really neat. You can also draw and label the map. So again, if you are just doing a different kind of project, or if you're, calling out a natural area, or, whatever you can want to do, we have different functions here as well. We can actually create labels. So project area, and you can, I want the project area to be here. You can actually create labels. You can add points wherever you want to. So again, this is something that you can use, and then maybe, go ahead and use the print function to print out anything that you've created. You can title it, you can select what different format you want, and the layout, and go ahead and, print to your closest printer. Yeah, there's just so much that this tool can do, and it's just really fun to explore the different options. Again, especially if you do have some project in mind, or just really looking for a tool that can help you get more information to build up your community, or to just make a certain community even better.
All right, everyone, that sums up our webinar on the Greenprint. Thank you so much for coming to learn more about this tool. If you have any more questions, or you're interested in a live or a digital demonstration, please contact us. Either myself or Anya Quiroz would be happy to talk more about this with you all. Have a great day.